Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. You know, one of the great joys of this particular medium, the video medium, in connection with ClassicsToday.com, where I can write, the written medium, is that I can focus on specific works and talk about, aspects of a recording that I wasn't able to cover or didn't cover for whatever reason in the actual written review. And this one is a case in point because we're talking now, number 5 in our series of interesting overtures. And the interesting overture in question is Danish composer Knudage Riisager. If I pronounced that wrong, I don't care. But his Primavera, Spring, concert overture, which dates from, 1931. Now, I reviewed this disc on ClassicsToday.com, and it's a wonderful little free review. You could just go look him up, look up the guy, and you can look at the review of the entire disc. I didn't talk about this overture on the disc. It may have been my favorite thing on the disc, so God knows why I didn't talk about it there. But you get his TDOXC, Poem Mécanique for orchestra, which is a piece about an airplane like Martin's Thunderbolt P-47 or whatever that thing is called, and Symphony Number 2, and his Concerto for Orchestra, and the Sinfonia, which is Symphony Number 3. These are marvelous pieces. They are neoclassical French style. You think of Roussel quite often when you hear them. And they're just wonderful, wonderfully written, brilliantly scored, vivacious, insouciant, effervescent, all the bubbly words. They're just terrific. And this concert overture, Primavera, is wonderful. Everyone's done spring, right? I mean, there's a billion springs in music, but this is an interesting spring. It's really interesting. It doesn't sound like anybody else's. Yes, it has the obligatory bird songs and twitterings and things, but it's harmonically tart and pungent. It's wonderful. It's like a nice lemon curd, It's spring without tackiness, but it has the lyricism. It's beautiful. It's easily approachable, but distinctive. It's about 5.5 minutes long. It's an absolutely fabulous and interesting overture, which nobody knows. It would make a great concert opener. It would be wonderful. I could just, you can't imagine, a nicer way to start a concert. And I can't imagine a concert where anybody would play it at the start. It's so annoying. The other point I want to make before we run the whole thing, we're going to listen to the whole thing, is this. I did a video previously about Riisager, and of course everybody has millions and millions of unusual composers and unusual works that we could talk about, and I wish I could talk about them all. But I do have to, I always feel of two minds about these things, because one of the ways that a composer breaks into the canon, the walled off area, which has the immortal classics contained therein, is through repetition. And it's wonderful that I can do like one talk about all of these different people, but the real way to get them to get performed, to get noticed, is to talk about them regularly. Because otherwise, who's ever going to think about them? They have to be a thing. They have to be something that matters. And I think Riisager matters. And so I may do several talks on Riisager. I've done several on Martinu. You know the composers who are starting to encroach upon the impenetrable wall that surrounds the classics. They'll get in there eventually, but the only way they get in there is when enough people talk about them enough and feature them and want to hear them that people start to take notice. And it's tough. It's a difficult process. There's so much music. There's so much really good music out there. And only a sampling is ever going to get into the regular repertoire for however long it gets there. And some things fall out. It's a fascinating process. It's amazing to watch. I mean, I've been sort of, perusing this whole situation for the past 30 or 40 years, and I just find it fascinating. But aside from that, even more fascinating is the Primavera Overture by Knudage Riisager. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful composer. His dates, by the way, just so you know, are not here. But he died in the 1970s. And why are they not here? They've got to put the date on here somewhere. That's crazy. Nope, they didn't. Oh, well, we can look him up. I have another disc with his dates on him. Anyway, this is with the Aarhus Symphony Orchestra under Bo Holton, fantastically played and recorded. So let's have a little spring in the middle of at least Northern Hemisphere winter. Sorry, all you friends in Australia. I know you're in the middle of summer. So there you go. You could use some spring too. Here it is. Wasn't that different and special? Great piece, absolutely great piece by a wonderful composer, definitely worth getting to know. And he could not be more different from that other, Danish composer, Carl Nielsen, or the completely nutty and insane Ruud Langyard. There's a lot of wonderful music in Denmark. There really is. And we should pay more attention to it. I wish we had the time. I mean, we could make some time. But this is a wonderful, wonderful crew. And then there's Holmboe. I mean, oh, goodness, we have to do lots about Danish music. But I do want to focus on this guy. This guy is someone who I think really has the potential to sort of break the barrier and make it. And this little Primavera overture, I think, is a wonderful introduction to him and his art and his style, because it's entirely characteristic and representative, but more importantly, it's masterful. So tune in for our next interesting overture. I have no idea what it's going to be. All I can tell you is that it will be an overture and it will be interesting. Keep on listening, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.